How would I describe the life of a consultant? Well, I think the best way I could describe it um, is the way that I heard a CEO of my old consulting company describe it. I think it was a CEO. But he basically said, the one thing I like about this job is that I come to work and every day my palms sweat a little bit. And I didn't really understand what that meant at the time, but but later what I realized he was talking about was that when you come in at a entry level, ideally if you're at a good place, you aren't just being handed work that is easy. And I know for some students that might be tough to hear that, because I see students all the time, not every student, but a lot of students come into my class and they get frustrated because the work I'm giving them is hard. And it should be hard, because if it's all easy, then really are you learning, right? Are you being challenged? And if you're coming into a job and the job is easy, how is it not going to become boring after a while? So it should be challenging enough. Now, here's the thing: just like anything, like going to the gym, running a mile, or learning how to code, what is once hard will eventually, as you do it more and more, will become easy. And so my first thought was that, okay, well, the work I'm doing now, like in about 2 years, like this will be, it'll be so much easier. And, from there, I'll just be coasting. What I didn't realize was that, 2 years in, they give you this work and it gets easier and easier and easier. So when I look back 2 years in as a consultant, I looked back and I was like, man, the work I was doing my first week, I could do that work like in my sleep now. And, and it was just easier. So I'd obviously grown in 2 years. But then, at 2 years, what did they do? They promoted me. So I was now here. And the responsibility and work I was being given at that time was much harder than the work I was doing 2 years in, or even especially one weekend. And so I started this whole new cycle of, oh man, it just got hard again. So as soon as the work gets easy, they promote you and you're being given more challenging projects, and you are starting to fail again and mess up and make mistakes and learn, and you get sore again, kind of like you do like if you run a mile on a treadmill every day and it gets to the point where it's so easy, then you should go and run 2 miles, and that will be hard, and eventually that will become easy, and then you run 3 miles. And so that was the thing that I noticed about, my work as a consultant, was that it was very fast paced. You were on tight timelines, small projects, or these projects that had tight timelines. So basically you were thrown in very quickly. You were, there was a lot of anxious moments. There was a lot of, oh no, I don't know how to do this moments. And that never ended. Because as soon as the work got easy, they would give me more challenging work. And so I got very used to dealing with anxiety, because anxiety is simply our body's reaction to basically thinking, hey, we're not going to be able to handle what's in front of us. And once I had been on my 12th project, I realized, okay, when somebody handed something to us and said, hey, we need to solve this problem, figure this out, you go, man, I have no idea how we're going to do that, but let me identify what I don't know, and let's exhaust all my resources, and let's think about how we're going to do this and how we're going to distribute this work. And it just was less scary over time. But my palms kind of did always sweat every day. There was always something that I didn't know the answer to. And I think that's one thing that was kind of nice about it. So the one thing I would stress to people is that if you're thinking about getting into this world of whether it's consulting or you're getting into industry and you're going to do project work, understand that, early on in your career, people are going to give you work and it's going to be challenging. And as it gets easier, they're going to make your responsibility greater. At some point in your career, you might be able to get to a place where you want to plateau and you don't want to be thrown any more challenges, and you don't want your hands to be sweaty anymore. And you're like, I'm happy at this level and I want to do this work consistently. I'm fine to not, get as many pay raises or whatever. Maybe I'll stay at manager level or consultant level or software developer level. And that's okay. But there are, the one thing I would just, urge you to understand, if you're an anxious person or you fear failure, If you worry about not knowing the answer, like you got to be prepared that that's kind of the lifestyle. You are given great coaches and mentors if you're at a great place. And so it's kind of like being thrown into the deep end. I think this was an analogy that I heard a CEO of a consulting company say, we're throwing you headlong into the deep end of a swimming pool, but there is a lifeguard there who's going to coach you and mentor and make sure you don't drown. So yeah, sweaty palms every day. It gets anxious, but over time you build up a resilience to that, and you start to understand that, okay, this is just another problem that we need to learn how to solve, and we'll figure it out. And I think that's kind of the life that I was very used to. Every day I got on a new project, it was just wow, I don't know how we're going to do this. Let's figure it out. So that's the best way I can describe it. The whole travel and all those other things are kind of other aspects to it, but I think that kind of is the more consistent thing across every project, whether you're traveling or not, that I think you should be prepared for.